Hello, this is Shara here. I'm not sure if this is my first time doing a Google Hangout on air, so hopefully I'll be able to kind of deal with whatever issues there are technically. It doesn't look like I have any viewers just yet, so I may just wait for a minute and see what happens. I know there was a little bit of the time difference and stuff is a little bit tricky, so I'll give it a few minutes um, to see what will happen with that. And in the meantime, I'll just play around with this for a sec. Hopefully, yeah, it looks like voices is there, so that should be okay. Okay. Great. This is great. Just seeing how all of this works. And I will give it another couple of minutes and then I will jump in and we'll see how we go. Okay, I'm not sure how. Okay, so I'm trying to, hi there for anybody who's joined. Excuse me, I'm just working through some of the inevitable technical issues that tend to come when you do these sorts of things. This is the first time I've done a Google Hangout. So, so yeah, I'm just looking through everything and it looks like, it looks like everything's coming through okay. I was trying to activate the Q&A feature, but it's saying it's disabled. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to have questions through that, but I have enabled the group chat feature. So so we might end up just managing our questions. If there's any questions, we might end up just managing the questions that way. Let me see. I'm going to get started kind of talking about the subject in a couple of minutes. I just kind of want to make sure that everyone everyone can actually see me and hear me before I launch into the conversation. So if you know what, if you're having any issues hearing me, if you wouldn't mind just just telling me through the group chat feature. Hopefully you're all not as new to this as I am. Or if there's any issues with the video, just let me know. And if I don't hear from anyone, then I will just assume that everything is okay. But I will just give it another minute before I launch in. And I have to apologize for the lighting the lighting sort of changes. I'm kind of in a room that's lit almost entirely by sunlight. And so I might just turn a light on or something. So it kind of comes and goes a little bit, as you can see. And it will probably also just depend a little bit on how close or far I get from the computer. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and launch into this. It is just an informal chat. I've made some notes because I want to make sure to cover everything. But before I jump into it, just in case you didn't know, I'm Shara, and I am a Ayurvedic practitioner and a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist. And I've been getting a lot of, if you're here, then you'll be on my list, so you probably will know who I am, hopefully. But I've been getting lots of questions about lots of different things, but one of the things that I have been getting a decent number of questions about is detoxing, because right now, or cleansing, because right now, if you follow anything related to Ayurveda, even just some health and wellness type stuff, you might be seeing a lot of detox programs or cleanse programs out on the internet. And part of that is because right now is in both the southern and the northern hemisphere, or northern and southern, is the traditional time for cleansing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we kind of move along. So what I wanted to do here was just kind of open it up and be able to talk to you, tell you a little bit about this Ayurvedic cleansing, and maybe give you some insights into what makes it different to normal or to other types of cleansing or detox programs, and just give you an opportunity to ask some questions about it. And also, this just is an opportunity to give you some more insight into Ayurveda anyway. Most of the people that I come across don't have a lot of experience with Ayurveda, so they are just learning as well. So I thought, well, this might be a good chance for you to learn as well. So I am sitting here at home. I live in Australia, and although I am an American, and I'm sitting here at home, and I've got about an hour or so. I've got kids upstairs, and they're going to be heading off to school shortly, so I'm going to need to jump off in about an hour. But what I thought I'd do is talk for about, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes or more. And I might even just give you the opportunity to ask questions kind of interspersed throughout, just because sometimes it's hard to remember everything until the end, and then we can make it a little bit more like a conversation or like a chat. Yeah, and then at the end of an hour, I will have to jump off, but it is definitely my goal and my plan to do a lot more of these types of things, and give you the opportunity to just to talk a little bit more about some of these things and really start to understand a little bit more about Ayurveda and how it can serve you, because I personally believe that Ayurveda is one of these things that you have to kind of build your own relationship with. Sometimes understanding it really comes from applying it. So let me jump into it. So Ayurveda. Most of you may know that Ayurveda is it's an ancient system of health and healing, and it addresses disease in a couple of key ways. Primarily through prevention, but then there's also treatment. And so the way that Ayurveda addresses this prevention and treatment is in a couple of key ways as well. One is it works to kind of build you up. In other words, it works to strengthen your system. It strengthens, your organs, your mind, your everything, all of the systems in the body, your energy, etc., and kind of referred to as tonification. It's about making you stronger or more resilient. And the way that it does this is with, nourishing foods and activities and herbs and love. And then the other way, so there's building up, and then the other way that it deals with disease prevention and management is through reducing or reduction or cleansing or detoxifying. And the way that it does that is through pretty much the same sort of thing, through the right types of foods, the right types of herbs, and the right types of activities. And love is definitely in there too, but it's more love in the way of self-reflection. That's kind of the way it sort of addresses it. So the approach with Ayurveda tends to be that you reduce first, so you cleanse first, you create this sort of clean slate, and then you create resilience. So cleansing is a really, really, really big and very important part of Ayurveda, and I would argue kind of living a healthy life. So today we're going to really just focus on talking about that reduction part, that clearing or that cleansing side of the equation, just to get you a little bit clear on why to do it, when to do it, and then what to do. I'll give you some ideas about what to do as well. So so the first one is why do we cleanse, or why do we need to detox? And I have to answer that question, or I have to kind of start that question with another question, which is how do we actually get toxic in the first place? So the Ayurvedic view is that our ability to digest is basically the key to our health. And by digest, I don't just mean like your physical digestion, like digesting the food you eat, because we take in a lot of different things. And you may have heard me or read some of the things that I say about this. We take in a lot of different things every day. We take in food and ideas and thoughts and information. We're processing emotions, and all of these different things Ayurveda sort of sees as food for the body and mind. The body and mind are inextricably connected. So all of these things that we take in are basically there to serve us. They're there to nourish us in some way. And so what we need to be able to do is process all of that. We need to be able to extract from that all of the bits and pieces that are actually going to feed us, that are actually going to nourish us in the same way that you imagine, you know, if you're eating something, you know, I don't know, a sandwich, your body is going to, your physical digestion is going to process all of the things in that sandwich. It's going to extract nutrients that need to feed your cells, and then it's going to eliminate everything else. And so a healthy digestion, in a larger sense, is a system that can extract, can take in all the information, all of the food, all of the thoughts, ideas, etc., that come at you at any given time, and extract the goodness that will feed you, mind, body, and soul, and then everything else will be eliminated in one way or another. And that's great. But then, so our system, the idea is that our systems are going to run nice and beautifully and efficiently and do all of these things. And when we do this efficiently, when our systems run efficiently, it's pretty good. Like everything's right with the world. We feel pretty good. We feel, you know, strong, and we feel our most sort of authentic selves when that happens. But then one day, say we have a stressful day at work. And so we hold on to that stress, or we feel that stress, which, you know, stress in itself wreaks all kinds of havoc in the body. And then perhaps because of that stress, we might overeat, or we might eat something that isn't particularly good for us at that particular time. So we're stressful, we're overeating, or we're eating something that isn't really feeding us. And then we come home and we, you know, yell at our kids or our husbands. And then all of a sudden we've got this guilt from that experience as well that we're sort of holding on to. And basically this entire scenario, what this entire scenario really means is that we begin to overload our systems. We overload our systems for digesting things by holding on to, or, you know, by overloading the physical ability to kind of digest things by overeating, and then by holding on to these emotions or these ideas like, you know, like guilt and stress, and those things compromise our mental and emotional ability to digest anything or to move anything. And so all of this kind of undigested stuff that hangs around in our minds and in our bodies basically begins over time to become toxic. And that toxic, in Ayurveda, we refer to that as ama. And that toxic stuff that hangs on to us eventually starts to really weigh us down. The more we accumulate it, the more our systems are compromised, and the kind of heavier and more complacent and even sort of jaded, really, that we get. And so this process of detoxification, it's a physical, mental, and emotional clearing of what we've accumulated. It's sort of clearing out all of that. But not only that, it's not just this clearing. It's also a process, and this is kind of almost particular to Ayurveda. It's almost a process of identifying our patterns. It's identifying the patterns that lead to this accumulation. So it's basically understanding what there is to be released and let go of, and how we've actually come to be in the situation that we're in. how we kind of come to accumulate all these things. Because the idea of detoxification is not only to kind of clean the slate or clear the slate, but it's also this idea of prevention and this idea of beginning to of knowing yourself, which is a really key key part of health and happiness in Ayurveda. So what we hope to do, what we try to do with this detoxification process is really get to the root of it, because that's basically what it is when we're talking about understanding kind of how we got there in the first place. It's about getting to the root causes, and that's really very, very fundamental to Ayurveda. So it's recognizing that, you know, things like constipation and feeling bloated and feeling heavy and foggy and feeling disconnected and unmotivated and anxious and a lot of these things. It's recognizing that these signals, when we first start to see them, are the beginnings or our kind of red flags that these toxins are actually starting to accumulate in the body. Because that is our opportunity. That's our chance to make some changes, make a few shifts, and also to even just to begin to detoxify. And detoxification is something that you can do on a daily basis. You can do it, you know, you can do it every day as a sort of maintenance. And then also, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, also you can do it sort of in a more deeper sense, yearly and seasonally and things like that. So before I jump too much further, are there any questions? Oh. Whoa, hello. Yikes. Help. Yikes. As a sort of maintenance. And then also, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, also you can do it sort of in a more deeper sense, yearly and seasonally. So before I jump too much further, are there any questions? Okay, so I'm just trying to see the video, the video, and let me just see here. It's weird because I'm actually watching a little bit of playback of this. Oh wow. Okay. So let me just hold on a sec. These are the technical issues I was kind of talking about. Holy moly. Give me a second just to find this. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just trying to see the video. This is wild. Okay. There we go. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Help. Okay. Oh, it says, I can see you, but you are not talking and the start button is not cooperating. Oh, somebody could see that. Okay. So you should be able to see me. I am trying to, oh, this is a little bit nuts. I'm trying to get back to the screen that shows me you're talking and, or sorry, that shows me, oh man, this is what happens, right? Well, you know what? I know that I can keep talking. The only problem is I cannot see you asking me questions. And I'm so wait a minute. I'm just going to close that. Nope. Hold on. Here. 1 second more. I will stop flailing around and I'll just move on. If I can't work it out. I'll just keep talking because I know it's still going live. So, yeah. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, my camera is still going, and I believe that you can still see me. So I'm just going to keep talking. And hold on, I think I found something else. Here we go. There we are. Okay. Great. Okay. Right. Oh Lord. Okay. Anyway, I will just keep going, and hopefully I will be able to deal with any questions that you have. You can always, terrific. So you can always just put any questions in the chat because I can actually see that, and hopefully you can see me because I'm just going to keep talking and hope that the next one of these will be a lot less technically challenging. So anyway, where was I? So I talked to you a little bit about what detoxification is and why we detox, right? We detox because we've overloaded our systems with too much food, too much activity, not processing our emotions, and sort of letting go or eliminating those things that that weigh us down, too much stress, etc. And in this day and age, it's even more of an issue because we all know, you're dealing with pretty much our systems really are dealing with almost constant overwhelm, right? Our minds and bodies are working really, really hard to process everything that that we come into contact with and to keep things moving and to basically to keep the lights on. But it's not really easy because as I mentioned before, we end up at some point with all of this, with all of this this information and things that we've actually have to do and deal with, we do end up feeling physically and mentally kind of run down and worn out. So just to go through really quickly, just to once again, some of those symptoms of sort of being toxic or needing to detoxify. And these things kind of show up differently for everybody, but there's this sort of general sense, or there's this sort of general idea or general sort of symptoms that most people who do need to kind of detoxify will feel. So that's things like constipation, bloating, you feeling heavy, feeling foggy in the mind or distracted, feeling sort of disconnected, unmotivated, anxious, congested, any level of congestion in the head or any level of congestion in the body, like things are just kind of stopped up. I'm feeling moody, headaches, insomnia, just that kind of yucky feeling. So, I try to talk about these sorts of things as much as possible because we all feel these things at one point or another, and we tend to just kind of ignore them, or we tend to just kind of push them out of the way and just push through somehow because we got stuff to do. So it's really important because Ayurveda kind of holds that these little things, these little signals that our bodies are giving us really are the seeds of disease. Like if we do just continue to kind of push them away or eat or do something to kind of cover them up, that is basically going to be the beginnings of something bigger, really. Yeah. So what or when do we actually want to detox? So I'll talk a little bit about that. Really, you want to detox whenever you don't really feel great. And that's why I say detoxing can be anything from it could be anything from kind of a 1 day or a 2-day thing, just giving your body a break, to a drawn out month-long deep cleansing. But really, you do want to stay on top of those signals that your body's giving you and take that as your clue to do something, to sort of take to take action in some way. And traditionally within Ayurveda, as I mentioned at the outset of the call, we cleanse 2 times a year. We cleanse in the spring and we cleanse in the fall. And so that, depending upon which hemisphere you live in, that's going to either be kind of late March to early May, or it's going to be kind of the October and November timeframe. And the traditional reason that we do that is that's basically those 2 times of year are kind of at the end and the beginning of what I'll just term the cold and the hot season. And so those are the times when our bodies tend to be kind of the most vulnerable and also the most kind of in flux. And so they tend to be a really good time to kind of take time out and give yourself a little bit of a break. And what I kind of like about them as well is that, you know, it's kind of easy to forget things like cleansing. You know, we got, as I said, we got stuff to do. We're pushing forward. We got work and families and various things. So when we have those 2 kind of set times a year that are designated as cleansing times, it also makes it a little bit easier to remember to take care of yourself and to remember to go ahead and do that sort of thing. And I've sort of found that, especially with just being busy, that knowing that springtime and fall are going to be the times when I am doing cleansing, even if for whatever reason I might not have time to do it anytime in between. But you can actually cleanse in between as well. And what I really, really recommend for people is that you start to get a sense of what you can do to cleanse or to detox, and then try to incorporate that into your week or into your day. More than anything, though, try to incorporate it into your thinking, because if you incorporate that into your thinking, and you know that, you know, the certain things that you can actually do to detox, then the minute that you start to kind of feel a little bit off, then you're going to you know, hopefully make the steps you need to cleanse. So let's talk. Wait, are there any questions? Hopefully, if you do have questions about that, you can ask them in the comments or whatever, the little chats. I'm seeing some of the comments people are saying, and I'm hoping that this is still coming through. So do you have any questions about the times to cleanse, like when you need to cleanse? Don't see anything. Who's that? Great. Okay, I've got so many windows open here. Can I just tell you? Okay, great. So let's move on then, and we'll talk a little bit more about what you actually need to do to cleanse, because that's probably what people are kind of most interested in. So the simplest thing is detoxing, as I said to you before, it's about reduction, right? And I like to think of it as being about lightening up, basically. You know, giving your body a rest, giving your mind a rest. And it's funny because, you know, resting is not something that we do very much. You know, we've kind of got a lot of things going on in our lives. But what I can tell you is that resting in one sense or another, so whether that is creating some sense of lightness in your diet, or creating some sense of lightness in your physical activities, or creating some sense of lightness in your thinking, or you know, your sort of mental and emotional state, goes a really long way. And that's part of the reason why I say, you know, you can detox, you know, even in a day, just by taking it easy. So what I recommend, just in terms of kind of everyday things, I'll talk a little bit more about kind of in-depth cleanses in a sec, but what I recommend just in terms of everyday things is to start with your diet. So you're wanting to take a day, and it doesn't have to be fasting, like it doesn't have to be torturous. Take a day and just lighten up your diet. So that might mean choosing lighter foods. So and Ayurveda tends to want to recommend that you have things that are warm. And the idea for that, the reasoning behind that is that your digestion, your digestive fire, your physical fire, digestive fire, that's basically what helps to kind of, burn through and process a lot of the foods and things that you eat. And so if we put too much cold stuff in the body, that kind of weakens the digestive fire. So what I tend to recommend if you're just cleansing for a day or a short period of time or any period of time really, in terms of lightening up your diet, is that you go with foods that are light and that are warm, and that maybe even tend to be a little bit dry. It will depend, but you want to go with things so we're talking about stuff like soups. We're talking about things like khichdi, and I've got a video on YouTube about khichdi. We're talking about just things that are kind of going to really kind of leave you feeling not so heavy or not so weighed down. And there's a whole bunch of different grains and and various other things that are kind of considered light. But what you really want to be doing is choosing not only the types of foods that are going to be light, but you're also going to want to be choosing quantities of food that are going to be light as well. So it's really about being mindful of that. It's about you're wanting to just in the traditional Ayurvedic model, you're wanting to have your biggest meal be in the middle of the day. That is when your digestive fire is going to be the strongest and when it's going to be the easiest to kind of burn through all of these things. And you are just going to want to kind of eat light throughout the day. So keep the flavors and keep everything very, very simple, and keep the food as clean as possible. You can lighten up on sugar and salt, and things that are kind of fatty or heavy, dairy. Those sorts of things are all quite heavy and cold. So those are the sorts of things that you're going to want to kind of eliminate, even just for a day, if you're wanting to do some cleansing. As well as that, you're going to want to take or use herbs and spices that are going to be heating and warming to warm up your digestive fire. Take things like warm lemon water. Those are the sorts of things that also kind of activate and boost your digestive fire. So basically what we're trying to do is, ease the burden on your digestion while boosting it, which basically gives you, not only gives you this sort of overall sense of kind of lightness or feeling of lightness, but it also strengthens your digestive system and allows it to kind of more efficiently and effectively move things through the body. So that's one thing, is your diet. And again, you can do this for one day, you can do it for many days. So in terms of activities, you're going to want to try to reduce some of the sensory inputs, right? So computers, television, radios, cell phones, you're just going to want to calm all of that down. Again, this is, as I talked about before, all of these things that come in, these are all potential food that your body mind has to process. And so if you can ease off of all of those things, or quiet things down a little bit, not only will you be giving your entire body mind a little bit of a break, so building or lightening that digestive system, it also gives you the opportunity to begin to really hear yourself, to begin to really connect with what's going on in the body. Having done lots and lots of cleanse programs, you would not believe how many people after a couple of days of cleansing have said to me, wow, I'm really, really in touch with what's going on in my body. I'm really, really in touch with what hunger, physical hunger, as opposed to say emotional hunger or even mental hunger. I'm really in touch with what that's like now, or with what the differences between all of those things are. And if you lighten up your diet and your activities and basically unburden your body, it gives you that ability to actually listen in a little bit better, which is great. So, you know, we're talking about computers, television, radio, et cetera, just calming all of that down, taking literally even mini, you know, even taking a little mini break, a few hours unplugged, something like that. All of those things can really, really help. Meditation, even just 5 to 10 minutes of meditation will help as well. Again, it's another way of clearing the slate. It's another way of connecting you to what's going on in your space. So I always recommend a regular practice of meditation if you can. But if you can't, most people can, but if you find that you're not, even just taking 5, 10, 15 minutes of meditation, specifically when you're choosing to detox or cleanse. And then there's also self-care. All of this really is self-care. But what's really important is part of the reason that we often make the choices, and it really is a choice, like even if it's kind of unconscious, part of the reason that we often make this choice to not detox or to ignore some of the signals that our body's giving us is because of our own beliefs about our own kind of worthiness. We feel like we need to sort of keep pushing and keep going and keep contributing in some way, rather than sort of taking that time to kind of look in and taking that time to kind of focus inward and to kind of build our own resilience or build our own immunity, our own sort of sense of self. And so self-care is really, really important. And so Ayurvedic cleansing usually will include a whole kind of gamut of self-care techniques. One of which is really important, which is the self-massage. Self-massage is great. So to me, self-massage is love. It's one of these things that sort of gives you that sense of, and I think it's just because you're touching, it's just one of these things. It's something that we so rarely kind of take time out for. And it's, when someone gives you a massage, you sort of really feel, not only, you feel like you're taking care of yourself, but you also feel like they're helping to take care of you. And so doing this self-massage, is a terrific way of sending yourself, your body, your mind, that message that you are really worthy of that time out. You're really worthy of taking care of yourself and of feeling good and of feeling healthy. And so that's really an important part of cleansing. So, you can take out a day or two, lighten up your diet, lighten up all your external inputs, give yourself a self-massage, chill out, maybe spend some time with people that you really love or that build you up, friends or family. And that is a really simple detox. That's a really simple cleansing procedure, cleansing process, or cleansing activity or approach. And then, of course, there's more involved ways of cleansing. And Ayurveda, I've been sort of known to say in some of my writing that, in Ayurveda we can cleanse 5 ways to Sunday. There's lots of different ways of cleansing in Ayurveda, and many of those things are kind of very specific or related to potential issues that you might have. A lot of them are preventative, but they might be targeting in on something. But if you're doing a more detailed cleanse, like something that may last sort of somewhere between 5 and 10 days or 5 days up to a month or more, you might go a little bit deeper. So by deeper, I just mean that you will just continue this diet. So the idea is that you're lightening up and you're reducing activities and sensory inputs, etc. But you also might do things like internal oiling of the body, as well as external oiling of the body. And the external is the massage that I talked to you about. And internal might be taking ghee and things like that. And what that does from an Ayurvedic perspective is starts to loosen up the toxins that are in your body, the toxic kind of goo that's in your body. And that's that ama that I talked about. And it sort of flushes that into the digestive tract so that it can be eliminated. And it's just another way of kind of lightening things up. And then the most evolved type of cleansing in Ayurveda is panchakarma, and panchakarma is 5 different cleansing therapies, very specifically focused on reducing certain, specific toxins or certain doshas in the body. And the different therapies of Ayurveda, or the different therapies of panchakarma, tend to kind of be done at different times of the year too, that are also relevant. So if we're just doing our regular cleansing, we will probably do something a little bit simpler, like the things that I talked about, by lightening up the diet and the activities and things that we do, and really focusing in on self-care. So are there any questions around that? Now, I don't even know if you guys are still watching this. I've somehow managed to kind of to lose the screen that I was working with. If you have questions, if you want to add them to the, if you want to put them into the chat, I'm really trying to go ahead. And you know what? Honestly, like, if you are watching this and you actually get a chance to see this, and you can't for some reason, send me questions, I will have this sorted out for the next one that we do. I will, if you can't sort of seem to get a message through to me, feel free to send me a message, separately, and I can always send that through. I did get a message. I did get a question from Wendy. I see this now at 7:30. It said, "Are you going to do a spring cleanse?" And she said she had to get off the line. Yes, my plan is to do a spring cleanse. Oh, Natasha, I see your message. Do you have any particular recipes you like to use while cleansing? Sure. Okay, so Khichdi is a great one, and I've got a video on my YouTube channel. Khichdi is the traditional Ayurvedic cleansing kind of dish, and it's a combination of rice and also mung dal, and it's it's a very light dish. And the idea behind it is that it's because it's so light, it helps to give your digestion a break. And so what I will tend to do when I'm cleansing is I'll just go on to Khichdi, and I'll eat Khichdi maybe for a meal, and I might skip a meal. I'll eat Khichdi with vegetables, some maybe sauteed or some steamed vegetables, and that's really good. Another one that I have not got a video for is a detox soup, and I will do a video for this one coming up. The detox soup it's just a green mung bean soup, and it's actually really, really yummy. That's one thing I really like about Ayurvedic cleansing, is that the food tends to be, one of the things that puts people off of detoxing is they think, oh, I'm going to starve and it's going to be horrible and all the rest of it. And there are people who don't like Khichdi. So, but there are different things that you can eat. But the idea really is to have things that are light. So if you have light soups that you like, or things like Khichdi, or as I said, this detox soup, steamed vegetables tend to be good. You're going to want to choose vegetables that are that tend to be kind of on the lighter and drier side. So you're gonna kind of want to potentially stay away from things that are too heavy, veggies that are too heavy. Oh yeah, Mary Beck says it's delicious and awesome. I know, I like Khichdi a lot. Thanks, Mom. So yeah, you want to Khichdi is great. It's a great place to start, and I recommend to everybody to try Khichdi and to tell if they like it or not. And it's funny because once you've had Khichdi, it tends to be one of those things that you kind of automatically go to when you start to feel a little bit heavy, stuff like that. So were there any other questions out there? Well, I hope I've answered most of your questions. I would definitely encourage all of you to kind of stay aware of what's going on in your body, like stay aware of how you're feeling. And it's easy because it's easy to forget. It's easy to not necessarily ignore, but just to not necessarily be in touch. Because we're always doing something else. And literally, and this is why the meditation is really good as well, because just even taking a few moments to stop and pay attention to what's going on. What do I mean by drier? Okay, so sorry, I just got a question from Natasha. What I mean by drier is, what I'm talking about is there's Ayurvedic qualities to different things. So foods tend to be either wet or dry, heavy or light, hot or cold. And so an example of something that is wet, a vegetable, say, that is wet, might be like a cucumber, or maybe I'm thinking celery, but celery's kind of salty. A cucumber, or zucchini, I always tend to think of, or mushrooms. Those sorts of things tend to be kind of wet. An example of things that are dry and lighter are things like onions, beans, leafy greens tend to be quite dry and light. And the reason why I say you tend to want to kind of go with things that are drier is because it's this concept of this feeling of heaviness is really kapha in the system, right? It's kapha, and kapha, the qualities of kapha are wet and cold and heavy. And so in terms of trying to create a sensation of lightness in our minds and in our bodies, we're going to want to gravitate towards or move towards things that are drier, that are lighter, and that are warmer. And when we do that in every way, so when we sort of move into environments that are that way, or create an environment around us that's that way, or we take on activities that are, that are like that, it creates that sensation in our entire kind of body and mind. So it's overall a sensation of lightening. And so that's what I mean. And if you see any food lists out there, and I'm actually planning on putting something out that kind of gives people a sense for, because I'm often talking less about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, but more about these qualities, like things like, light and dry. I personally feel like those qualities give us a little bit more insight, because you understand that if you feel heavy, then you want to incorporate things into your life that are going to make you feel light. And so that to me is a little bit easier than saying you want to go from feeling kapha to perhaps feeling a little more vata or something like that. So I'm planning on putting together a list of different foods and things that are give you a sense, that are designated by their qualities, so their lightness or their heaviness or their dryness or their wetness or their heat or cold, just to give people an idea and to start to really familiarize people with looking at the world in that way. Are there any other questions out there, or comments or thoughts? Do you tend to have a sense for when you need to detox? Because often we do have a sense for it, and it kind of goes out of our head. We kind of let it go and move on. We got stuff to do. We got work to get done, etc. And I literally, I'm no different. Even just putting together this talk or just writing down some of my notes, I thought, yeah, it's definitely time to jump into a detox. So I'll probably be doing that in the next couple of days, get started on doing that. I do plan on doing a more coordinated one in the spring, just to give people some more guidance and recipes and different things, just to kind of help them. And I found in cleansing, it's great to do with friends. It's great to do with other people for just the support and also just a little bit of the accountability. But it's also really important to kind of stay tuned in to when you need to do it. And even if you don't have a big group of people, to take on some of those things on a smaller scale, just to take on some of those things just for you. So were there any other questions out there? I'll give it a second, because it sounds like, oh, great, okay. It sounds like things are taking a second just to come through. Um, I have personally found, and I've led numerous cleanses with people, that cleansing is a really great way for people to start to get a sense for Ayurveda and its effects, and its power, basically. It's a really good way, and in part that's because, as I said at the very beginning, we start by clearing. We start by clearing things out, and once we do that, that sort of creates the space for something else. And so, starting with the cleanse is a really great way of being able to tune into the value of all of these things, even the value of kind of thinking, you know, Ayurvedically, for lack of a better term, of thinking in a way that's really tunes you in with your environment and how it actually impacts you. It's all really great. So it's getting close to 8 o'clock, and let me just check to make sure. I checking my notes just to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover. I think I did. Yep, great. Yeah, my plan is to do some more of these talks and to talk about specific issues. I've had people approach me to talk about things like building your immunity, and things like increasing your energy. Um, so I'm planning in the future, in fact, I'm planning in another couple of weeks or so to do another little talk about this. And it really, and I'll get the technical things sorted out by then. But for me, I like the idea of you getting the opportunity to kind of learn about these things, especially if you're experiencing some issue that you would like to get some answers on. You can always send me an email message, or you can always send me a message on Facebook. I'm always happy I get inquiries that way all the time, and I'm always happy to kind of answer those if you have a quick question or something. And I've obviously got more kind of coordinated offerings that are coming out. I'm just head down working away on those things now, and I'm hoping to be able to get a lot more of that stuff out in the coming weeks, really, which is exciting for me. So yeah, I am planning on having some more of these little chats, because I want to get a sense for what you guys are dealing with, or what you're struggling with, or what you're trying to understand about Ayurveda, because it's a vast subject. It really is, and yet it has something to say about everything, every little thing that we do. And so there's always some delicious insights that you can gain for whatever it is that you're dealing with at the moment, that will hopefully help to not only kind of bring you closer to your authentic self, but will also in the process of that, bring you closer to healthier and happier life. So with that, I will close this little talk for today, and I will want to thank everybody who's on, or who even stopped in for a moment to listen to this. I wanted to thank you all, just for taking the time out today, and also just for your own interest and your own dedication to your health and happiness. I'm a huge believer that a healthy world for any single one person is a healthier place for everyone. And so I always like to thank people for having an interest in their own health and happiness, because I sort of see that as making the world a lot healthier and happier place for me and my family as well. So thank you all for that. Watch for the details for our next conversation. Thanks for everybody who had questions. And again, if you have any questions after this, feel free to drop me a line. And if you have any subjects that you do want to talk about in the future, again, feel free to drop me a line as well. I talk kind of fast. I'm going to, this is going to go straight up to YouTube. So if you do need or want to revisit anything I've said in this call or in this hangout, you'll have the opportunity as soon as I can figure out how to turn it off and get it up to YouTube. But it will be available for you then. So have a beautiful rest of your evening. It's just daytime here, so I'm about to kick off into a gorgeous week. And I will see you again soon. Namaste. found it.